Hey, welcome to How to Build Your Own Home. I want to talk about the real cost in building a home and why sometimes your costs are so high. And a lot of it has to do with what I'm going to talk about today. I did a video several years ago and it was on this topic, and it was kind of an ad hoc video. It had several 100,000 views. And I'm going to redo that video with a lot more information that might help you understand where the real cost in building a home and possibly where new technology is going to go. And it happens to be the envelope of the home. I have here a side profile of an actual wall that I want to help you understand. This here is a typical wall assembly. I got my studs here. I got my exterior sheeting. However, this sheeting here is almost 1/2 inch, so that'd be a little bit more money. That's what I found on one of my job sites. So this here is the beginning of where the real cost to build your home is. In other words, what you do to this wall assembly increases your total cost per square foot in your home. And this is the real cost. For example, when I start putting rock on a home, I have insulation. Now with the new IRC code, International Residential Code, they're asking for exterior insulation. Again, that's increasing your total cost per square foot. When you take this wall assembly and you suddenly go 12-foot, 14-foot walls, again, that's increasing your total cost per square foot. A lot of people don't understand that this envelope here is the greatest cost in the entire home. Why? Well, you can have different subcontractors standing in one place to install something. First of all, it's your foundation crew, which we can probably talk about a little bit later, because that's part of the envelope of the home. Then when you start building your walls, you've got a framer that comes. And right now costs can be anywhere from $11 to north of $30 per square foot on the home. And so that there adds to the cost of the home. Then you have your exterior vapor barrier. Then you have your exterior siding. It could be all rock. It could be also insulation. It could be a shiplap. It could be a stucco, which happens to be probably the most affordable exterior siding that's available for people. That there is another person standing there. For example, just take stucco alone. A stucco contractor has to come and install the lath, which is in some places an insulation material. Then they have to do their wire mesh and their J channel and have it inspected. That's one crew. Another crew comes and installs the gray coat or the brown coat. And oftentimes that's a separate crew. And then another crew comes and puts the finish coat on there. There could be 3 coats, there could be 2 coats. In my neck of the woods, we do a gray coat and then a finish color coat. Again, they have to set up the scaffolding. They have to set up all that mobilization cost just for the exterior stucco crew to work on a job. A lot of people don't think in terms of labor. They don't think in terms of mobilization costs. For example, I've got a pool and I've got a septic system coming up on this particular job. I also have a lot of boulders outside that I need to set in place as a retainage for the actual perimeter of the property. I'm trying to see if we can't get that all combined into one subcontractor. Why? Mobilization costs. You know what it costs to have a big, huge traco delivered on a job site? Like with gas prices the way they are, again, that's mobilization costs. If I have 2 different subcontractors coming to the job site, I'm going to get hit twice with that mobilization cost, and I don't need to do that. There's a hidden understanding when it comes to the cost of building a home. And a lot of people just ignore labor. And it's probably the biggest blind spot in the building of a home. And again, we get back to this wall assembly. So I've got one crew coming to frame, another crew coming to do the exterior siding, and then another crew probably to do the insulation install if the siding crew doesn't do it. Again, if you're increasing the value of your home with the new International Residential Building Code, then that insulation crew is another one. Then you've got the inside wall, which we'll talk about in a full assembly over here. I've got electrical and plumbing, then I've got insulation, That's another crew. Then I've got drywall, which the hangers, that's one crew. After they're done, and they set up their scaffolding as well for the inside of the home, then the tape and texture crew comes, and that's a separate crew. Again, not the same crew. Hangers are not the same as your texture crew. After they're all done, then you have your paint crew that comes in, and you have your primer, then you have your taping off, you have your finish coat. Again, that's a whole nother team, a whole nother crew. So you've got between 5 and 7 different subcontractors, depending upon what you apply to that wall assembly, 5 to 7 different subcontractors standing in one place to do something. That's the cost of your home. On this slab right here, this concrete, excavation and concrete, just 2 subcontractors. Versus this wall, I have 5 to 7 different contractors. See the difference? It's not so much the materials, it's also the materials and the labor to put this complete wall assembly up. Let's go over here and look at a complete wall assembly, and I'll really show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we're here at a complete wall assembly without, of course, the insulation drywall and without the exterior insulation or exterior stucco, rock, whatever. I wanted you to see the open cavity to help you understand the real cost of building a home. A lot of it's just right here. So framing, that's one subcontractor. Again, all the mobilization costs, all the scaffolding, that's one subcontractor. Then of course you've got your window subcontractor who's going to install those windows. Sometimes I can package that with my framing subcontractor, but these are really nice high-end windows and the actual manufacturer did the install. Okay, so that's one subcontractor plus the cost and material for both of those. Then after all that, we have the exterior of the home, which we have the vapor barrier and all the siding. Could be rock, stucco, shiplap, whatever you want to do. That's another subcontractor. Then you've got the insulation subcontractor who's going to come in. They'll insulate the windows, they'll insulate the walls. That's number 4. Then you've got your drywall contractor who's going to come in, hang, tape, and texture, 2 separate crews. That's 5 different subcontractors. Now, if you add insulation on the outside, that could be a 5th subcontractor or more additional work for your insulation subcontractor. But I've seen really complicated things done on the outside of a home where they have rock and stucco, and the stucco guy doesn't install the rock. That's another subcontractor. And as a result, that could be 6 different subcontractors. See where I'm going with this? I've seen it as high as 8 and even 9 different subcontractors to do really complex wall assemblies. This is what increases the cost per square foot of your home. This is the real cost in building a home. It's this wall assembly. Now, I didn't even factor in plumbing and electrical and low voltage or anything like that. That just goes with the territory. It goes with the building. It's where it's at. It's really not part of the wall assembly. We just use the wall assembly to bring all that stuff up inside the wall. So what I want you to think about is when you design a home, we're going to go outside and we're going to talk about home design. But one thing I want you to keep in mind right here is that this here window, the square foot of this window is more per square foot than the entire wall assembly on a lot of homes, especially when you have some high-end upgraded windows. If you go with maybe some builder grade windows, which you can get, that can actually be 6s in some situations. In the Northeast, you've got windows that have to sustain a high amount of wind, and as a result, that window is going to increase its cost, and as a result, this whole window could be more per square foot than the actual wall assembly. So again, that should tell you something, all right? If I have really big windows, and if I really go high on those windows, it's going to increase, again, my square footage cost per square foot. One other thing to consider is the height of the wall system. Oh, honey, let's go 14-foot walls. That would be wonderful. That's increasing your, again, total cost per square foot because you're adding more square footage of a complete wall assembly and you're not increasing square footage, all right? You should be thinking in terms of what can I do to capture square footage? Why? That's going to increase your equity. It's going to increase your borrowing capacity. It's going to increase your sellability down the road as well. I build in the state of Utah, and we build big homes in Utah. Why? Well, there's a lot of large families here. But we also know that it's cheaper to build a larger home than a super tiny home with a wall assembly like this. If I have a 400 square foot home and I've got a 10-foot ceiling, that's going to be more cost per square foot than it will be if I did a 2,500 square foot home. Why? Nobody wants, and I'm speaking in terms of subcontractors now, subcontractors don't want to mobilize, get their trailer hooked up, get all their scaffolding, all their equipment, and drive to a job site just to build a 400 square foot home. They're going to charge you more for that. Mark my words. But if you have a home that's 2,500, 3,000 square feet, oh, I have more work in one place. Again, think in terms of labor. Labor is, again, the blind spot in a lot of perspectives when it comes to building a home. Let's go over here to one sample of a new wall assembly that I might help you understand how you can shave labor in order to save and maybe even get a different or better building product. And then we're going to go outside. This is just a concept to help you understand where I think the industry is going, where opportunities are, and even possibly some different technologies to improve on efficiency, all right? This here is a wall assembly. It's a fast wall assembly. You can also have an omni block assembly. I didn't have one. I looked all over for my assembly. Sorry, Denny. We'll have a little B-roll to show you the difference, omni block and of course fast wall. Why am I presenting these? Because they eliminate one of those 5 subcontractors. Right here we have insulation embedded inside the actual wall assembly, and this here literally can be dry stacked. You can actually stack this, and of course you've got your area for your rebar, and you've got your cells for your rebar, and you got a really nice thermal break. So a thermal break from here to here, except for some of the ends here. However, this here is a wood product that is treated to eliminate the sugars, so therefore it doesn't rot, and then it's infused with cement. And it's a rigid system, so you can actually drill and hold a pitcher on this, and you can put your mud right to it, and you can apply your stucco or anything else to it on the outside of the wall. The thing I'm trying to help you understand here is that you basically eliminate your insulation subcontractor doing the wall. Now, that's not entirely true because you still have to blow in your attics, but the neat thing is that gets removed off that cost. It's, again, one person standing in one place to help build the wall assembly, but they're taking care of a few things at the same time. They're actually taking care of insulation. It's embedded in the same system. OmniBlock is the same way. That's one of the reasons why I like these products and I've built homes with them, is because I'm removing one of the laborers at the wall assembly. And when you can do that, you can now shift that cost to maybe a better product or a different technology. That's where we have to start thinking in terms of building our homes. Again, 5, at the very minimum, 5 different subcontractors are needed to build the wall assembly. Now let's talk about design and how design also either can save you money on the wall assembly or suddenly increase costs. So let's go outside. Okay, we're outside, and I just want to talk about a couple of small, simple principles to help you control your cost per square foot, all right? Beginning with the roof line. If you go over a 7/12 pitch, you're going to increase your labor costs, and you're not knowing that. As a former roofer, I would come up to a job site and I go, oh my goodness, this is a 9/12 pitch, this is a 10/12 pitch, or this is 11/12 pitch, or 12/12 pitch, and you know that that's automatically going to increase the intensity of your labor as a laborer. And that's why they'll bid a little higher, because they got to rope off, secure themselves. Anything that's 7/12 or lower, between 7 and 5/12 pitch, that's an easy roof to walk on. and it's not that unsafe. A lot of roofers will still tie themselves off, but you can walk around on that roof and it's not going to be a hassle. Then of course, flat roofs versus regular pitched roofs and the roof product you put on. There's a lot of other factors to think about, but the pitch of the roof is the one thing that a lot of owner builders just are blind about. They want this nice steep pitch roof. They're not realizing how much of a cost that's going to add to roof that product. The second thing is the wall height. All right, every time you increase that wall height on the inside, you're increasing the envelope of the home, the cost to fully encase that home. So you could go 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 feet. Once you get up to that certain feet, you have to start thinking in terms of, if it's an odd number, like 13-foot ceilings, that's going to be odd because they're going to have a lot more cut waste on drywall, a lot more cut waste on lumber. I'm going to have fire blocking at the 10-foot mark. I'm going to have more cut waste on the outside sheeting. See, these are things that builders think in terms. I'm thinking about my cut waste because I can take a 4x8 sheet of OSB, I can cut it right down the middle, and I've got a 2-foot panel and a 2-foot panel. So if I have an 8-foot wall with 8-foot studs and I go up another 2 feet, that's not hard to do with the OSB because same thing with drywall. I'm not going to have that much cut waste, depending upon how different subcontractors apply and use that material. But I think in terms of the actual usage of materials and applying it to labor so I don't have too much of a cost. Think in terms of wall height. The other thing to consider is your gable ends. This here is a gable end. And if you really wanted to save money, you can actually create more roof line and less exterior wall. Again, this is kind of a blind spot. It's kind of hard to communicate, but let me try to do that as best I can. There's a gable roof and there's a hip roof. A hip roof is where the hip roof comes, and I'll have an image for you. A hip roof is where the roof all comes down to the top of the wall. There's no gable end. There's no side wall. See all the side wall? Gable, 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 gable. All that wall is going up, and then you have to have scaffolding, and then you have to have all the, again, more mobilization costs, more labor costs to do all that exterior. The hip roof consideration changes your design considerably, but it brings that roof all the way down to that top plate of the top wall. And a roof is cheaper to do than an exterior wall assembly. An exterior wall assembly is going to have more subcontractors come to deal with that wall than a roof. Roof it's just your underlayment and your roof product. All right. Think in these terms when it comes to building a home. The envelope of the home is going to decide the total cost per square foot. Now, one thing you know from me, if I'm building a home and I've got a lot of attic potential, I'm going to throw attic trusses in there. Now I've increased my cost per square foot, I've increased my square footage, and I've lowered my cost per square foot. That's the secret to really getting your cost per square foot manageable and within your accessibility, within your budget. Always think about, does this increase my square footage? If it does and it adds value to the home, let's do that. Again, it's your call, your choice. I'm just trying to help others understand where the real cost is and how to save or how to avoid that extra labor and then throw that cost savings in the direction you might want to do. And some of the new technologies that are coming out. If you have any questions, give me a comment. I'd love to hear your feedback on this. But again, don't be in the dark, don't be in the blind. There's a lot of things you can do at the design stage to avoid some of these blind spots that a lot of owner builders have. This is How to Build Your Own Home. Go to howtobuildyourownhome.com. Check out our courses. Our First Steps course is probably the most best introduction to being an owner builder. After that, take the self-managed course. It has a budget, draw sheet, subcontractor agreements, everything you need, checklists and video instruction throughout the entire process. It's the exact process I use as a builder. We'll see you guys next time.